Hello again, this is Guillermo Puyol with mobileprogrammingtips.com. In this video, we're going to go ahead and continue our basic platformer game, and we're going to implement the camera. Now, in the last video, we implemented a very basic camera that will track the player going left and right and make sure that it allows for some movement within the screen without panning. So in this video, we're actually going to use KLFP's library. He actually shared that in the Corona community in the Share Your Code. He set up a very nice library that we're going to implement. So this is what we had last video. Our player is free to move around without influencing the camera, but when it's about to leave the screen, the camera tracks and it stops tracking whenever it's not needed. So now we're going to go ahead and delete that code, and we're going to use Caleb's camera instead. So the first thing to do is to get that code, and if you go to the Corona community, there's a section that says Share Your Code, and that's under developer.coronalabs.com/code. And Caleb's perspective library is under perspective, so just look for perspective or follow the link. So if you scroll all the way down, you can see the yellow button to download it. That's gonna be right there. So if you click that, it's going to take you to download the file. So I've already downloaded the file. I'm going to go ahead and copy the file into our project folder. And when I do that, Lua Glider notices the file right here. So basically, that perspective file is going to handle all of the camera. So we need to tell our program that we're going to be using that file. And the way we do that is by requiring perspective. So we use these two lines: local perspective equal require parentheses quote perspective quote parentheses, and then we declare the camera as local camera equal perspective dot create view. So we're going to go ahead and put that in, and we will do that in our forward declarations here. Okay, so right before we create our camera, before we're going to include that in, and we delete this line because we're already declaring this new camera. Okay, so we've just required the perspective, so this level 1 is aware of this file, and then we are assigning the camera to a new view. Then this is how we add objects into the camera. Okay, so we just say local my object, so we declare the object and then say camera colon add, and then we put the name of the object, the layer, and whether the object is in focus or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy that. And if you recall, in our enter scene, in our create scene function, we were adding things to our camera right here. Okay, so we're going to replace those lines, and notice that here it says insert, here it says add. So we're going to do just that. Say add the background, add the grass, add the hero. Now the background is going to be in layer 1 and it's not in focus. The grass is going to be layer 2, not in focus, and the hero is going to be letter 3 in focus. Okay? And now you can always set the camera focus to a different object with camera set focus, but we've already told the camera that the hero is in focus by setting this to true. Okay, so we can then set the bounds of the camera. So basically we're telling the camera where to track and where to stop tracking. So let's go ahead and leave it as that. So it's going to track the entire screen from X being 0 to X all the way to the content width, which is the width of the screen, and from the 0, which is at the very top, to the content height, which is at the very bottom. So it's going to track for the whole screen, and we'll have to come back and tweak that a little bit. And as we continue the implementation here, we have to tell the camera to go ahead and start tracking. Okay, so camera track, we're going to do that here. Remember that we had set up a move camera event listener, so we're going to remove that move camera event listener, and we're going to call camera track instead. So that's telling the camera to start tracking our object, in this case our hero. And I believe that should be enough to get us going. Now let's go ahead and try this. There might be an error, but let's go ahead and check and see how things are working now. Okay, so we do have an error in line 45, add. Okay, so we're calling camera add here. So let's check something out. Okay, so here's my problem. We don't need to have this anymore. We had created a camera as a display group before, but notice that here, when we switch to Caleb's camera, we are already defining camera to be a new view from the perspective. Okay, so let's take care of that line, and let's try it again. So I deleted that line to hopefully make everything work. Okay, and something happened. Okay. Alright, so this is all being pulled by the cameras. So we have our camera working. Now we have to tweak the settings. So I believe I have the layers reversed here, because this background is being put at the very front. So let's go ahead and change that in the create scene. Let's go ahead and put the hero. Okay, so hero being at the front is number 1, the grass is number 2, and background is number 3. So the front is the lower number. So let's try that one more time. Okay, so now that is the exact behavior that we would expect. So we have the background behind the grass is here, the hero is on top, and notice that the hero is centered in the view, and the hero is centered in the view at all times. Okay, and the reason for that is that we haven't set up any bounds, so it all works. And there's even parallaxing. It's barely noticeable, but you'll see that the background moves slightly at a different rate than the grass that's closer to the camera. But okay, so let's go ahead and get this fixed so that we didn't see any of this here. So there should be a minimum for the camera tracking. So let's go ahead and play with these bounds a little bit. So instead of this being 0, how about we call it 60? That would be the lowest X where the camera tracks. Nope. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, instead of boring you while I try these different numbers, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, go through some settings here with the bounds, and come back to you whenever I've found the right numbers that will make our level work. Okay, so as you notice, I've tweaked the settings here. So I want to show you how it's working right now, and we'll go over the settings. So right now it starts out, the hero falls on the ground and everything is centered correctly. It doesn't let us go left, and when we get to the center of the screen it starts tracking. That's exactly what we needed. And as it jumps, it does a little bit of tracking as well. Now remember that we haven't fixed this bug of allowing the hero to jump repeatedly, so let's go ahead and utilize that to test the vertical, and it keeps track of the hero as it goes up and down. Now when it falls, notice that the hero feels like it's about to get lost at the bottom of the screen, and that is because of the snapping setting. But I actually like the way that looks. We can actually make the camera snap to the position faster to keep the hero centered, but I think that allowing the hero to get to the edge like that, it actually makes the camera a little bit more fun. So I'm going to leave that. If you want to tweak that, you can use this snapping or actually camera damping. Okay, so the damping setting makes it so that the higher the value, the faster it is to snap. So if you do that here, camera damping, let's go ahead and set it to 10 just to demonstrate. So that's how the camera damping behaves with 10. If I set that to 50, it's going to have a different feel to it. a lot slower. Takes a long time for the camera to get there. So if you want the camera to be slower and more smooth, you raise that number. If you want it to be fast, you lower that number. So let's set it at 3, and it should stay very, very close to the hero. You see, we can barely escape the camera unless we go up really, really high. See, it's not leaving the border, so that makes the camera tracking a lot faster. And that basically is how you set up this type of camera. Now, right now, the way I have it set is with the floor being half of the screen. So let's go over the settings right now. And I'm leaving the game running here. So right now we have the X, the camera bounce on the left is going to be the content width, which is the width of the screen divided by 2. So basically from this point in the center of the screen to the left, it's not going to track if it's getting close to the edge of the map. So notice that when it gets to the half point, it's going to start tracking. Okay? But now if we move left, it tracks all the way until we get to the edge of the level. Okay? Now if we were to fall off of this level, I'm going to get to that point, you're going to see the hero just fall off. Let's see if it's fallen. Okay, it's still there. So it's not tracking. Maybe we set up the maximum being too low. I think I need to do some more tweaking here. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Alright. Here's what's going on. Right now we are telling the camera to track only to the width of the screen. So once the hero gets to the X equals 480, then the camera stops tracking. But in fact, our level is much bigger than that. Remember that over here we set the grass to be 3 times the screen size. So we would have to track all the way to at least the screen size, well, 3 times the screen size minus half the screen. So let me illustrate, and here's a way that we can actually use this library to determine the length of that level, and we do it by declaring a local width, or let's call it level width is equal to camera colon layer, and then we give it a layer number. So in this case we know that the layer is the wider layer is the grass. So we put this number 2 right here. Okay, so now we know that this is going to hold the width of the level. So if we were to use this instead of content width here, we would be closer but not quite there, and I'm going to show you what happens. So now this should allow us to track all the way to when the hero gets to X equals 3 times 480. And 142, what happened there? Oh, I'm so sorry. I know what's going on. Right here, I'm putting level width is equal to a layer. This layer is layer dot width. So we don't want this level width to be equal to the layer. We want it to be equal to the width of the layer. I'm so sorry. So that's what I get for making videos at 1 a.m. Alright, let's try that one more time. And again, I apologize. So we want to get it past the halfway point. Okay, so now it's working. But notice that whenever we get to the edge of the level, we're going to fall off because it's going to track all the way until the hero is at the edge of the level. So there, it should have stopped right there where we do not see the edge of the level, and it should let the hero come all the way up. But it didn't, because we told it go ahead and track all the way to the edge of the level. So it's gonna fall off. So what we need to tell it is to track all the way to the edge of the level minus half a screen. So right about there. Okay, so let's tell it exactly that. So track to level width minus display dot content width over 2. So that way it's going to track right to the edge, from the edge of the level on the left to the edge of the level on the right, without showing us any empty space. So it goes from the edge of the level on the left and we continue all the way. It's gonna get there eventually, and the camera should stop tracking very soon, and it does. And now it doesn't show us any black lines, which is just what we needed. Okay, so now we have used Caleb's camera tracking, and now it can track vertically, it tracks horizontally, and we have set up the proper limits on our space. Okay, so that is just what we needed. And let's see how long we've been going on this video. I think we have some time to do a little bit more work. So right now we have some good camera tracking, everything is working correctly. Now let's go ahead and do some parallax backgrounds. So what we'll need is some background images, and I know exactly the place to get them. And I'll be right back with those images. Alright, so I've pulled this background image of a mountain, and I had used that in one of my games. So let's go ahead and use that in our example. So I put that in our project under an images folder, and what I'm going to do here is change the declaration of the background. Over here I'm going to change it from being a rectangle to being an image. So new image rect, and let's call this images bg underscore mountain dot png, and we are going to say that image is 640 by 184. And I believe that's all we need. We don't need this background color anymore. Boom. And let's try it. And we have an image of a mountain that is totally off center. Let's try this here. And we're going to center the background image on the content center X, content center Y. And I actually don't want it centered, but that looks better. Okay. So as we continue to move forward, we see more of that image until we lose that right there. So now we see this edge. So we have a couple options here. We could add another one to the background, to the background layer, and just offset it by that much. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's say this is going to be background 1, and we're going to do a background 2. Same image, and the X is going to be equal to background 1.width plus this much. And we're going to go ahead and add this background here. Background 1 and background 2. So let's try that. So what we're doing right now is just copying the same exact image, and it may not work. The image is probably not perfect for the application, but what I want is to have a wider background. Okay, so we continue. And there we go. So now that was a lot better, and that's probably going to be big enough, because here we've reached the end of our level. So this is going to be a lot better. And notice that the way this image was created, it's supposed to be seamless. So somewhere right there, I believe, is the seam. I believe it's somewhere right there, but it's very hard to notice, especially if you're not focusing on it. So now we have a little bit better, but now we can actually use the parallax settings here. So we can say that the camera layer where the background lives has a different parallax ratio. So we don't want it to track quite as much. So let's go ahead and say that the camera camera colon layer 3, which is where the background lives, dot parallax ratio, and we're gonna go ahead and use that setting of 0.5. And this is not going to be quite as noticeable just yet, but we're about to do something else. Okay, so there is a little bit of a problem when we jump higher, because this image in the background should be longer downwards, so we don't see the bottom. But notice what's gonna happen here when we start moving to the right. We start getting more of a 3D effect, because the grass, which is closer to the camera, is moving a lot faster than the mountains. And that is the beginning of something really cool. Now we can have that simulated 3D effect where our hero is moving and the background is moving a lot slower, and we didn't run out of background. So that's perfect. And if you want to do it one more time, let's go ahead and take another image. I guess we can use this one. We could call it mid-ground mountain. And we're going to just add another set of images. So we're going to call this mid-ground, and I don't know if that is the correct term for it, but we're going to say mid-ground 1, mid-ground 1, mid-ground 1, mid-ground 2, and 2. And we're going to change this to MG mountain and MG mountain. And this image is 640 by 184 as well, so we don't need to mess with these numbers here. And the next thing that we need to do is add that we're going to add this right here, and we're going to say this is image layer 2, I'm sorry, let's call this layer 3, and this background moves to layer 4. So this is going to be mid-ground, not background. Mid-ground 1, mid-ground 2. So what we're doing is pushing the background back one layer by sending it to layer 4, and then we're adding this mid-ground. So now we are going to do the parallax for this one as well, and we're going to say that the number 3 is going to parallax at about 0.8, and this one is going to parallax at 0.5, this one being layer 4. And that's going to enhance that 3D look. We're going to have two sets of mountains that are going to move at a slightly different pace. Okay, so notice that now we don't see the bottom of that mountain, so the effect is not broken then. So that's perfect. And when we move, you see the mountains in the front parallaxing. The grass is moving a little bit faster than the mountain, and now you see that 3D effect even more. So here we ran out of background, so let's go ahead and make this a little bit less. Let's call this 0.75, and that should be enough. Yep, so that was enough, and we've reached the end of the level. So that is a perfect camera solution. Well, it's not perfect. We still can, as you see right there at the very bottom, it's a little bit problematic, but it's a lot better. And we can solve that by moving the background down just a little bit. And let's see the midground. Plus, let's call it 20 pixels down. Should be all we need. I just moved that midground down a little bit, so hopefully we cover that line, that black line at the bottom. Oh, still, you can still see the line. We're gonna need to move it farther down. Oh, my bad, I know. Let's try this. Oh, I don't see a line. I don't see a line. There we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So now we have a moving block with nice mountains in the background and a nice parallax effect. So our game is starting to take shape. And let's see how long we've been going in this. Well, it's almost time to wrap this up, and before I do that, I want to just make a little tweak here in our create scene. Let's go ahead and set the default background color. Set default background to blue. This RGB value, so we put this to 255, it should make the screen blue. Let's go ahead and try that. Default. It's always useful to know how to spell if you want to program, so that's just a little tip for you. And there we go. So we have sky. It's a nice, beautiful, clear day. And we have a jumping hero with parallaxing mountains. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. As you can see, this is starting to take shape. I hope you're enjoying it, and I think we're going to give our hero a facelift in the next video. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So we're going to go ahead and give our hero a facelift. Oh, before I do that, I wanted to show you a little bug that I encountered that we need to take care of. When we are moving left and right, if I let go of the mouse, so press, let go, press and let go. If I press and move my mouse out of the button and then I let go, it does not stop moving. It continues to move because we are not detecting the mouse up right here on the button. So if remember that when we set the controllers, this was to detect the mouse up. So let's go ahead and check that real quick. Do controls touch when if event phase equal ended, then it's going to set the velocity to 0. But if it doesn't detect that event ending inside the control, then we're gonna have a problem. And the reason for that is that we haven't set the focus to that button. So we're going to do that first thing. The next video is to set the focus on the button to make sure that we capture the mouse up, even if the mouse moves or the tab moves outside of that button. Okay, so we'll do that next video. I just wanted to let you know that that is a problem that we need to address. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like the video, make comments, subscribe, and also check out mobile programming tips on Facebook at facebook.com/mobile programming tips. I hope to hear from you guys. I hope you're enjoying this, and I'll see you when I see you.